Ahoy Maties! Welcome to the Seas. This is xxDAMRONxx. We're playing Sea of Thieves. In this video, I'm doing a complete commendation guide for the new Buried Treasures section in your Bilge Rat journal of your pirate log that just came out as part of Season 5 with a bunch of new updates and a bunch of new commendations that are also tied to some Xbox achievements as well. So let's do a quick overview of all of the new commendations. Essentially, we will be able to be burying treasure now, and there are several commendations tied to burying treasure as well as uncovering buried treasure that other crews have buried. So we're going to go over all of those in detail, including what is the huge amount. We have to bury Athena loot. We also have to bury explosive barrels. We need to bury treasure while another crew is around. We also have to steal one from a crew and bury that. We're also going to talk about the new map bundles that are on your captain's table. One commendation requires you to steal and place one. We've got the new cannon rowboat, which is really fun. A couple commendations that tied to that. We've got new fireworks that are in the game with a couple things tied to that as well, and we'll go over all of that. There's signal flares, which can launch up and light up the sky at night. And then one of the things that this update also introduces into the game is the ability to sit down and lay in certain areas. You can actually take a seat, and not just the sit emote, but actually take a seat in certain islands, certain places around the map. And there's a ton of new commendations that are tied to sitting in specific places, and some of them at specific times. So we're going to go over all of these, and keep in mind I'll have all of the commendations timestamped in the description as well as the comments. So if there's a specific thing you're looking for, feel free to check that out, but I'll have it all timestamped. But once you finally unlock all of the commendations, you will then get the last two, the Legend of Buried Treasures as well as Beholder of Buried Treasures title, and you'll have access to the party ship cosmetics from the shipwright. So let's go ahead and jump right into this, and we're going to talk about a couple things that you can work on simultaneously. I want you to be able to maximize doing all of these in the most efficient way possible, and that's going to revolve around the hider of sizable stashes, which requires you to create 25 different treasure maps that have 5 different treasure items on them. And the best way to do that is the commodity crates. You can actually just purchase the commodity crates from an outpost and then go bury them. You can actually bury 5 at the outpost if you want to, and then dig those up so the map no longer exists, and then bury 5 more. Now, while you're working on that, you'll inevitably get the hider of the secret treasures, which is to bury 25 different items. Keep in mind, once you've buried an item, you can't dig it up and then rebury it somewhere else and have it count towards your commendations. Now, you could still bury it, but it's not going to count towards your, hider of sizable stashes. So once you've done 25 different 5 treasure item maps, you'll get this hider of sizable stashes. Now, while you're working on that, you're going to be having these maps. What I recommend is bury 5, leave them down if you don't care about it, but if you want the loot, you can always dig 4 of them back up, and then you'll still have the treasure map on you. And when you go to the new quest board that's found at any outpost or even the sea post, you can then donate these maps for other pirates to go and dig up. And once you donate 25 total maps, you will get the Master Cartographer commendation. Now, for the Benevolent Benefactor, you need to donate one that has a huge amount of, items on it, and that huge amount is actually 5. It's not a lot, right? It's a pretty minimal amount. So the other thing that you need to work on, again, I want you to work on all of these simultaneously, is the Seeker of Pirate Plunder. So as we're sailing from outpost to outpost and we're picking up the commodity crates and other things to kind of bury, also check the board and pick up some of the maps that are donated by other crews. And you want to try to find ones that are duplicated. So you can see right here, I've got 2 that are at Paradise Springs. So I can buy both of those, and essentially I can stop at one island and dig more than one, which will be more efficient as we're trying to dig treasure from other crews. Now, there's always going to be 2 maps available per region at all times. If there's not crews that are actually donated by a human player, then the game will AI generate some maps on the quest board for you. So they'll always be there. And the ones from other crews are going to have that purple symbol in your quest wheel. Also, what's different with these is they make a noise when you walk over them. So you can hear that kind of that's different than like the normal X marks the spot, right? These have specific locations that you need to find. Whereas if you're doing a gold hoarder X marks the spot, if you dig relatively close to where it was, then you'll kind of get it. But these, you actually have to be right where it was buried. So keep that in mind. That's a little bit different. But eventually, once you have dug up 25 different items from other pirate crews, you're going to get the Seeker of Pirate Plunder. And again, we're working all of this at the same time. As you're sailing from outpost to outpost to outpost, which is, again, allows us going to do all these things simultaneously, take a seat in every tavern, all 7 taverns, and once you've sat in all taverns, you'll unlock the Tavern Crawl. Another thing that we're going to have to be bearing throughout our journal is Athena items. The fastest way to do this kind of right off the rip is to do the Athena's, Thieves Haven run. This is probably the best way to do it because you're going to get several different Athena items, and you're not going to have to go to different islands. You're going to be able to go to Thieves Haven and then nearby and then back to Thieves Haven. And essentially, once you dig it up, just rebury it. Obviously, you don't have to leave it there. You don't even have to dig it all the way up. You could dig it one dig, and then you can bury it. And as soon as you bury it, that's going to count towards your hider of legendary secrets. And most of you aren't going to want to kind of leave your Athena loot behind. You don't have to. As soon as it's buried, it's going to count to your commendation, and you can pick it back up and go turn it in. And once you've buried 20, you'll get the hider of legendary secrets. Now, for the Heir to the Trickster, you have to bury 10 explosive barrels. It says, bury 10 prime barrels, but don't be confused by that. You don't have to light it, because if you light it and try to bury it, it'll blow up before you bury it. But essentially, you're burying a trap. So if someone else dug that up, it would immediately light. So let's look at a few things that require other crews in this update, and we're going to go over all of those so you can get them most efficiently. And obviously the most efficient way to do all these is to form an alliance and kind of work with another crew to kind of bang these out. The first one is Sleepover, and that requires you to sleep in another crew's bed. Okay, this is not the sleep or sit emote. You have to walk to the bed on another ship and physically interact with it. Another thing that we're going to have to do is fire a warning shot, which requires you to fire the new flares. You're going to have some of the flares automatically on your boat when you start, generally in your top barrel, but all you have to do is essentially shoot that up while you're at an island while another boat is present. So if you're in an alliance, just hang out while you're working on other things, shoot a flare up in the sky, and you'll get the warning shot commendation out of the way. Another thing that you're going to have to do with another ship is catch them on fire with a firework. So this isn't 100%. Not every firework's going to catch them on fire. I found the most efficient way is to shoot the mast. For some reason, I was able to get that work better. If you're shooting the side of the ship with a firework, it doesn't seem to work as often. So try to hit the mast if you can. Another thing you have to do with another crew present is sit in a tavern with another crew to get the Sea of Thieves. Keep in mind that can't be with someone your crew, has to be another crew. Also, when you're in an alliance, so make sure that you are a little bit friendly one day and form an alliance with another ship. And when you do that, if you fire a firework up into the sky at any time, day or night, as long as you're in an alliance, you'll get the Skies of Friendship commendation. A couple other commendations that we're going to have to do while we have other crews present. One is to steal an item from another crew and bury it. So this is actually my alliance right here, but I took one of their treasure items and then I buried it. So if you steal an item from another crew and then you bury it, you will get the Burying the Past commendation. Also, if you are near another crew while burying an item, you'll get the Nothing to See Here commendation. Another new item in the game is the map bundles. The map bundles are going to be placed on your captain's table when you create X marks the spot maps. So if you bury treasure, a map bundle will then automatically be placed on your captain's wheel. Or not captain's wheel, the captain's table. One of the commendations is going to require you to actually steal a map bundle. So you can actually go to the enemy's captain's table and just steal it, as I showed you there. Or if you sink a ship that has that map bundle on their ship, it will actually then be floating in the water as an item that you can pick up. And if you do that and then place it on your captain's table, you'll get the Stolen Secrets commendation. Another thing that we're going to have to do with fireworks is we have to launch 5 fireworks in relatively quick succession into the sky to get the Nighttime Spectacular achievement. You can do this on a sloop. You can shoot them all by yourself, so it doesn't have to be super fast. But as long as you shoot 5 at night, relatively back to back, you'll get the Nighttime Spectacular commendation. Another new item that was introduced into this update are dice. You're automatically going to get this as a reward in the new Season 5 Renown levels, and you only have to get level 5, so it's really easy to get a couple levels and you got it. But once you get that, you'll find the new dice emote in your vanity chest. So once you do that, just equip it and start rolling your dice. You can just do it over and over and over until you land a 20. For the critical role commendation, we also have new cannon rowboats, and it's pretty crazy, but one of the commendation tasks you with hitting 25 ships with the cannon rowboat. Now these can be PvE ships, so you can do it on skelly ships as you see here, you can do it on ghost ships, whatever. But clearly the easiest way to do this is to dock the rowboat on the back of your ship, get an alliance, and let them shoot, have them let you shoot them 25 times. This is obviously the easiest way to do it and bang it out. So just do this while you're working on your other things with your team. Another thing that we have to do with our cannon rowboat is shoot 25 enemies. The best way to do this is if you're doing, at Order of Souls and you've got a bunch of skeletons, or if you're just on a ship and a bunch of skellies spawn on you, just bring them out to the beach and have your rowboat again docked on the back of your boat and just blast them. And once you shoot 25 enemies, you will get the next rowboat commendation, which is hunting boat. The last commendation that is tied to the cannonball rowboat is to shoot a megalodon or a kraken 25 times. It's by far the easiest to do it on the megalodon because you can have two people working together, one person kind of turning the boat around while the other person is again docked on the back of the boat just shooting as you're spinning with the megalodon. Again, it's way better to attach these to your boats and fire it that way, because if you're trying to shoot just like with it in the water, the cannon just blows the rowboat back, and then you've got to row it again to get it back into position. So this is the best way. Have one person turning the boat, the other person shooting. Another kind of random commendation that we have to do is to sit in the captain's chair while the galleon is going down. So just spawn into a game with a galleon and scuttle your ship. The one thing I'll say is that you need to sit down before you scuttle it, because as soon as your ship sinks, it's going to kick you out of the chair. So you'll get the down with the ship commendation, but be sure you're sitting there before it sinks so you can get the commendation. If you wait too long, it'll kick you out. Now there's a lot of commendations that are going to require us to sit in certain places, the first of which is Plunder Valley or the Ancient Isles, and what it's asking us to do is to go to the highest point in the Ancient Isles and sit there at noon. So that's going to be Plunder Valley, and if you just launch all the way up to the top and you can kind of go right next to the Beacon of Fate here, you'll see these kind of little imprints on the rock, and you can see when you get up there you're going to see a prompt that says take in the view. So just pull your clock out and essentially sit around noon. It doesn't have to be noon on the dot, between 11:45 and probably 12:30 or so, you should be fine. Now, the other one is a catching rays, which is going to task you with going to the highest point in the wilds and have you be there at sunrise. So that is going to be Old Faithful Isle, and if you launch yourself all the way to the top, you'll see this kind of stone archway. You've probably all been here before, but if you go all the way to the very, very top on the north side, again, you'll see this kind of smaller rock that even goes higher up. When you go up there, you'll see this dead skeleton, but you'll see another spot on the rock that says take in the view. So we need to be here at sunrise, which is around 5 a.m. So as long as you kind of have a seat between 5 and 6 a.m., so to speak, you'll get a new day. Now we're also tasked with going to the highest place in the Shores of Plenty, which is Smuggler's Bay, and we're tasked to go here and sit at the highest point at sunset. And so we're going to go ahead and go to Smuggler's Bay, and we're going to shoot ourselves to the top ridge. And on Smuggler's Bay, if you kind of go all the way to the middle of that top ridge and face the bay itself, so you're kind of facing the inner part of the island, right in the middle. So you're going to see it. I'm going to be right up here, and you gotta look right into the middle on this grassy kind of rock here. Again, right dead center of the top. Again, right here, you're gonna see this stone that's got some markings on it to take in the view. So now we're gonna take in the view at sunset. Again, that's gonna be around 8 p.m., anywhere between probably 7:30 and 9:30. So whatever, around 8, as long as you're sitting down around 8 o'clock, you'll get the Adventurer's Eve commendation. Another place that we have to sit at sunset is at the end of a dock, so you can do this really at any outpost. Probably some, islands that have docks on them, but do it at an outpost on a dock at sunset for a moment of reflection. Another place that we have to sit is in the Devil's Roar at an island while it's erupting. So go to the Devil's Roar and, just put your big boy pants on and sit in a dock while the volcano's erupting. Another place we have to sit is on your own ship while it's on fire, so you can probably work on this while you're working on other commendations with an alliance, but have them set your boat on fire, or set your boat on fire yourself and just have a seat. We also need to go to the Athena's Fortune, kind of Athena's hideout, which again, you have to be a pirate legend to get in here, or be in a crew with someone that's a pirate legend. Have them get you in here by playing a song in the tavern, and if you go down into the Athena's, hideout itself, and take a seat in front of the band, you'll get the Rest of Legends commendation. The last two commendations are tied to sitting in certain places that are tied to tall tales. The first of which is the Shores of Gold, which is the last tall tale in the original tall tale series that came out with the anniversary update. I have a complete guide for that, so if you need help getting through that tall tale, I'll link that here as well as in the description and comments. But if you play through that entire tall tale, at the very end when you're battling the Gold Hoarder, you can actually go back and take a seat in his throne to unlock the tribute seat. Our last commendation that we're going to grab again requires going into another tall tale, Captains of the Damned, which is part of the Pirate's Life tall tale series that came out relatively recently. But within this one, eventually you're going to follow a path where you're chasing Jack Sparrow, and he'll be in here. And when he gets up, you can take a seat in the Golden Throne for our last commendation in the Buried Treasures section of our Bilge Rat journal. So that's everything. I hope that you guys found this helpful. I'll have everything time-stamped if you need to go to anything specific. I've got some separate videos for ones that are more related to Xbox achievements where I talk about it a little more in detail, so I'll link those too. But I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you on the seas.